warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. A very good day to all of you. The program that you are watching now is called Sembang-Sembang Pswm Siswazah Wanita Malaysia with the theme Menyusuri Ilmu. The objective of this program is actually to showcase individuals who are currently members of the Malaysian Women Graduate Association who have contributed so much for the country. Today, I am going to interview a young professor that I love so much. Her name is Profesor Cheong Sok Ching. She is the head of the Translational Cancer Biology at Cancer Research Malaysia, a non-profit organization dedicated to serving lives through research focusing on Asians. Professor Cheong graduated from Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia in 1998. Wow, with a first-class honors in biochemistry. Oh my goodness. At graduation, she received the Tun Razak Award for Most Outstanding Student in each graduating academic year. In the same year, in 1998, she was also awarded the Anugerah Siswi Cemerlang by the Malaysian Women Graduate Association. Currently, she is actually serving in our EXCO. In 2019, Professor Cheong was appointed the fourth chairholder of a chair called Kursi Dr. Siti Hasmah Muhammad Ali, which is situated at Universiti of Malaya. Her work focuses on understanding the genetics of oral cancer and Asian cancer so that we will be able to derive better treatments for this type of cancer. Recently, Professor Cheong was awarded the President's Award by an international association for oral maxillofacial pathologists for her outstanding work in advancing oral cancer research. Congratulations, my dear Sok Ching. Okay, how are you today?
Good. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Datin Fauzia. It's been really an honor to have been in the last 20 years together with Persatuan Siswazah Wanita, and there's really never a dull moment with you amazing ladies in the association. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that again, all right? Despite the pandemic, we are very active, doing a lot of webinars and things like that on online, okay?
And charity, right? And charity,
yes,
and supporting the community. Yeah.
Yeah, we just handed out 400 food baskets to the poor people, in the urban poor particularly, and it's amazing how, you know, the members of the association contributed. We managed to raise about 20,000, right? Okay, now let's focus on what we're going to discuss today. Prof, I call you Prof, okay? Normally I call you Sok Ching, but today I'll call you Prof, okay? Why do you choose to be a researcher? You know as well as I know, and everybody knows, that researchers are not upfront, and whatever, and no matter what, how important your research is that you are conducting, there is certainly no limelight at all for people like you. Answer from the bottom of your heart.
I think when I started going into science, first I did a life science degree, not knowing I will pursue a PhD yet. I think that decision to go into life sciences as a degree is very much influenced probably by the background of my family, because my entire family is very sciencey. So my father's a doctor and my mom is a science teacher. My sister is also an anesthetist. So all of us were kind of expected to take the science stream, and then we were always interested in science. And my mom made the home, you know, like science experiments all the time. So we rear chickens just to see how, you know, the mother hen actually can hatch, cause the eggs to hatch and things. Yeah, so we did all of that, and we had a lot of pets. and watch them grow. Yeah. I guess it's like
a
influence
science
of
lab. It's like a lab.
Yeah, my mom taught science in primary school. She also was the teacher in charge of the science club. So all the experiments from the school will come home during the school holidays, because in school nobody will be there to look after the turtles and the rest of the other experiments that are going on. So it will all migrate to home. So I guess that instilled a kind of love for science for me. And having done my degree in UKM at a very timely era, and what I meant by that is when I did my first degree, molecular biology, or looking at DNA and RNA, was just emerging, and UKM took the lead in offering a course that would enable us to do genetic engineering, and we had a group of very inspiring lecturers. And I was really inspired by how genetic engineering can really change the world in the sense of curing diseases, or even making better yield for agriculture, that will help with regards to food supply and all the above. So I was both inspired at home and also inspired by a very forward-thinking group of lecturers in UKM. I think that's how I got the bug, and because of that, I decided to pursue my PhD right after my degree.
Okay, you are one of those rare, I don't like to use the word creature, you are one of those rare generation that does not care too much about limelight. Am I right or not? Because as I see it today, Sok Ching, as a prof, when I see today, almost everybody, it doesn't mean that it's only among the young generation. Even in the older generation, everybody is into trying to make a limelight. So they go into media social and they do crazy things just to create followers. How come you're not interested in limelight?
I think I would love to have followers, but I think being a scientist, you know the reality of things. When for example, if a COVID vaccine is created, right? As a scientist, you are very hopeful. You're really happy that that your community has helped with a very important solution, for the world. But we know a lot about science, right? Before the first vaccine rolls out, we already know that it is not the cure for all. We already anticipate what are some of the challenges. There will still be infection, maybe not as bad, and there will still be a need for more vaccines and newer kinds of vaccines. So because we are in science, we know that. So in some way, you can say that we are a little bit of a careful and maybe a bit on the pessimistic side, although optimistic that science can help, but very cautious in terms of not saying this is going to be the thing, right? Because of the facts that we know. So I think the facts really ground us, and maybe most people who take on the role of a scientist are usually people who have this kind of characteristics where the truth, and the truth grounds you. And even though, for example, my team is going to have a vaccine that was created here in Malaysia, roll out for first in man, that means injecting into the first human being next year, you really haven't seen it in the papers, mainly because we know that there will still be improvements that need to be made, and we are very cautious about giving people false hopes, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have to really take into consideration, somebody's mom or sister or child, who have cancer, right? We have to be very careful about what we release and what we say.
Yes. In other words, limelight is not for people like you, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, although we do hope that people are aware of what we do, because we need the support of patients who volunteer for our work. We also need the support of funding, right? So for example, funding from the ministry, or even funding from corporate, and funding from the public.
Yes.
So we do hope that people know about our work, but we we tend to be a bit more cautious in terms of releasing too much wah-wah in terms of the discoveries.
Yes, yes, I understand. Now, let me go to my second question. Could you please elucidate, what is the process involved in a typical research?
Yeah, the process is quite different depending on the project. But in terms of overall, like what would be a typical day or typical routine that a scientist would need to make is that the younger me, who is always in the laboratory, would need to identify what are the gaps. So the cancer that I work on is mouth cancer. So the gap really is the lack of treatment, right? Whereas if you work on another kind of cancer, maybe a cancer that is inside your body that you need new diagnostic tools, then the question may be quite different. But for me, the first thing you have to think about as a scientist is what's the problem you want to solve, right? So about the why do you want to solve it and how you're going to solve it. And then you build hypothesis, and then we design our experiments. We need to purchase all our materials to do these experiments. And these experiments need quite a lot of time because we have to be very sure of our data. And once this data comes out, we have to spend a lot of time interpreting it. And when I say interpreting it, it also means interpreting it in the context of what is already known, not only for the kind of cancer that we are working on, but also other cancers. So for example, if I find that a gene seems to be quite important, usually I don't find one single gene, I find hundreds of genes. And then it's a process of eliminating which one is not important. In order to do that, we need to read very widely to know, for example, whether this gene is already an important gene in other cancers. If this gene is an important gene in other cancers, the likelihood that it may be important for your cancer may be high, right? Then let's say if you select this particular gene to work on, then you need to read a lot to see where is the stage of research on this gene. Are there already drugs targeting this gene? If there are, then you have a shortcut, to quickly test out that drug in the cancer that we work in. So these are the experiments that we will plan and we will run, and then we'll interpret the data, and then we write research papers in order to tell people our findings. And these papers are usually critiqued by the worldwide scientists of the world. And further on to that, when we finish a project or before we finish projects, we need to think about the same process again and figure out what's next for this particular gene, right? Are we going down the route of finding a drug and going to the clinic, or what's next for the project? So the process is kind of continuous. Some projects
is an ongoing process.
Yeah, and in the midst of that, we will spin off. So for example, if we find something interesting that can be taken to the clinic, for example, our vaccine, we will quickly spin off and then build teams, clinical teams, now not really science teams, find the clinicians who would then help us recruit patients and then take the vaccine forward to the clinic, whilst we will continue doing other research, because we are not what we call the one-trick pony, right? Even though we have rolled out a vaccine, we continue to research on it to make it better. And we also continue to research so that we can have other drugs, in the pipeline.
Okay. I would like to get your view on this, okay? You became a researcher because of your background and all that, as you were growing up. Now, and academically, you did your master's and then you did your PhD, then only become a researcher. Does that go for any? If a person wants to be a researcher, right, to be involved as a researcher, as a profession, they have to go to that rigmarole. First, they have to have degree, then master's, then PhD. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes. So for me, UKM had a scheme. If you have a first class honors, actually you can skip your master's and then you can register for your PhD straight away. Wow. So that's what I did. So I skipped my master's and did my PhD directly.
Sorry for this. subject.
It's okay. But actually, I mean, I think other universities have this scheme as well. Yeah, but this is what you say is the typical route. You will do your BSc, and then or even pharmacy, and then you will do your masters, and then you will do your PhD. And the reason being is that the structured training is actually quite important in order to train your mind to think in a very structured manner to answer scientific questions.
Yes, and above all, you have to love to read. You have to be a lover of books and papers, because you keep on reading and reading and reading. Now, looking at the general profile of the younger generation now, do you think that there are many young people who want to follow your footsteps if they don't have the background of their parents being in the same same field?
I do hope so, because I mean, our ability to improve, as a community and as a nation, right, requires researchers and scientific thinking. I mean, they may not necessarily become a scientist, but I do hope, that we're able to instill that the kind of critical thinking, right? I mean, you mentioned that a lot of people are bombarding you with a lot of information.
Yes.
I mean, especially during the COVID, everybody will say, eat this or don't do that, or, drink this. So if we as a community, we're not thinking critically, then we're going to go down a lot of rabbit holes and, be stuck.
Yes. When you use the word critic here, it doesn't mean that it's something bad. Having a critical mind is a very open, you are open to many information, and it teaches you how to choose the right,
it's about critical thinking and not being a critique, right?
Not being a critic. Okay, these are two different things altogether. Okay, now, we were so proud in 1998 to award you, and we are so happy in the Malaysian Women Graduate Association that you became the fourth holder of our chair, Dr. Siti Hasma's chair at Universiti of Malaya. What are you researching currently under this chair?
First of all, thank you to PSWM and University Malaya for awarding me the chair. It's really an honor, and you say you're very proud of me, but I'm so proud to be able to live up to the standards of the women in the PSWM, and everyone in the society continues to be an inspiration. And on bad days that sometimes you feel like, okay, today is not a good day and I don't really want to work that hard, and I think about the women in PSWM such as yourself, still fighting for the blind, fighting for students to make sure they have their electronics to go to school. That mind, poops and goes off. You cannot be resting on your laurels because of the mentors and also the inspiration that you ladies give us. So in the chair, primarily my work is on identifying the critical genes that keep cancer cells alive. So cancer cells are actually just cells in our body. Unfortunately, a normal cell has decided to go rogue and become a cancer cell. And that happens through genetic changes, so changes in certain critical genes. So under the chair and the funds provided by the chair, what we want to do is to identify what those critical genes are so that we can reverse the effects that a normal cell, that has gone rogue to become a cancer cell can be reversed. So that's critically what we are doing. And what we hope to do with that is, if we can identify what actually goes wrong, we can create or repurpose certain drugs to reverse that event. But if we don't know what happened, in the cancer cell, how are we going to do anything about it, right? So with the chair, I will use gene editing technology. I talk about genetic engineering that I learned in 1998, but now fast forward to 2020, there's a gene editing technology called CRISPR-Cas9, and in 2020, two ladies got the Nobel Prize for this particular gene editing technology. This gene editing technology is very special because it can go into the cell and cut out genes, like a specific gene that you want cut out and removed from your cell. So it's really very, very powerful because we can then now study the specific function of a single gene. Yeah, and find out how that gene causes cancer. And if we have that understanding, we are likely to be able to reverse that effect.
Wow, wow. And you are now halfway through or about to finish the research?
We are halfway through, I would say about 70% doing that. And we've just submitted our first research paper. And we are actually doing quite exciting work because we've identified a particular genetic pathway where there is already a current drug, and we hope to be able to test this particular drug in the cancer we work on.
Okay, as a person, me, Fauzia Ramli, as a person, right? I dream of a day where we can have, this is one example, the YouTube channel that I have sort of dream of having one, and we are going to turn this into a podcast, and it will be actually the audio will be listened to by many young people. Hopefully you will be an inspiration to them, so that not every, at the moment I feel that a lot of people want to take the easy way out, become a typical, either a doctor, because it's already there, a doctor, already what they are in for and what are the specialization, or an artist or a singer or a actor and things like that. But imagine if you are dreaming to become a researcher. I have not discovered any young people who said, I want to be a researcher. What would be, I'm keeping this to the last, I want you to make a call, and I will definitely now, as the president of this association, would definitely want to push you into the limelight, just to educate Malaysian public about the work that you are doing. It's so fantastic. It normally brings tears to my eyes when I talk to you about this, because it is so important. Too much of politicking, too much of entertainment, in our country. If we were to go forward, we must have more people, dedicated people, and brilliant people like you. Okay, my last question. Having said all that, recently you won an international award for research. Please let us know what it is. We're so proud of you.
Thanks, Dr. Fauzia. Yeah, so this award is awarded by an international association, of clinicians, people who diagnose cancer all over the world. And the award is called the President's Award, and it's given every 2 years. So once every 2 years, an international scientist or clinician or doctor will be given the award to be recognized for the work or advancements in oral cancer research. So I'm very fortunate and honored to receive the prize, actually last year, but because of the pandemic, it's been moved to this year. This award actually recognizes the work that my team and I have done in Malaysia. So can you imagine a small country like Malaysia getting recognized, right? So for the work that we have done in oral cancer, and specifically I want to talk about 3 areas. The first is the CRISPR-Cas9 work that we've been doing under the Dr. Siti Hasmah chair, which I will not elaborate further. But the second is about from the identification of important genes, we have now made a cancer vaccine. And the cancer vaccine will be tested in human beings next year, starting in the UK first, because we've secured money from charitable organization there, and the tests will be done there, and hopefully we can raise enough funding to bring the phase 2 clinical trial here in Malaysia. So this is a big breakthrough because there are no vaccines currently for the treatment of oral cancer, and if this is successful, it will be the very first, and it was discovered and first developed here in Malaysia. The third thing I want to talk about why our work has been recognized is that early detection of cancer is very important. Whatever cancer, if you're able to find it early, the chance of surviving the cancer is a lot higher than if you detect it late. So my team and I have made a mobile phone app that will enable us to facilitate, the early detection of oral cancer, because oral cancer is cancer of the mouth. So you can open your mouth and actually you can see the ulcers. But sometimes some ulcers are very benign and they're not cancerous. So how do you know which is which? So our mobile phone app will enable, remote areas, people in remote areas to take pictures to be sent to the specialist so that they can be managed appropriately. And this work is done together with our clinical partners and also Ministry of Health. So on that note, I wanted to respond to your call about how do we interest people and young people to be interested in research, right? I think I started the conversation by saying that we do quite high-end research, the most forefront gene editing technology. And when I start to tell people this, they tend to say, okay, that's too elitist, and it needs too much skill and I don't have it, so I cannot go on this journey with you. But that's not true, right? Because I also do research where it benefits the community. So look around you. I mean, if you the researcher and scientific mindset is just about looking around you and solving problems. It's as simple as that. So I'm a molecular biologist. I am not a mobile app developer, but I'm actually solving problems, right, to try and connect the rural areas with a specialist in the city. That is not originally my expertise, but because I'm trained as a scientist, like the BSc, Masters, and PhD, that route just trains you to solve problems. It doesn't mean that you have to solve problems that you were only trained in, because technology moves very quickly. When I was doing my PhD, CRISPR-Cas9 did not exist, right? But as I progressed in my career, I know how to use these technologies because of the problem-solving skills that I've learned along the way. So when I identified, we went to Sarawak to collect samples for our research, but I realized that people are not getting the help they need because they're just too far away and too remote. So we thought about this app development. So this is my call to young people, look around you and systematically figure out why certain things are not going right? And think of what kind of small research or problem solving that you can do in order to solve these little problems in your area. And you can start by, just like that.
Okay. But the basic thing is that you must have a very good inquisitive mind. Am I right?
Curiosity.
Curiosity never kills the cat.
Yeah.
All right. That proverb is out. In the 22nd century.
It gives you 9 lives instead.
So what I'm saying is that looking at Malaysia is supposed to be a developed country. By the year 2020, we had the Wawasan 2020. Remember the Vision 2020 by Dr. Mahathir, and one of the pillars of that was science and technology. All right. Now, looking at you, I feel so hopeful that Malaysia will move on, even though we may be delayed by so many, because of the pandemic and all that. Economically, we are being dragged back. In terms of politics, it's a havoc. But when I'm looking at you and the way you speak, we have a lot of hope. So, my dear Professor Sok Ching, definitely I will try my level best to actually put you in the limelight. Particularly, I don't care. Maybe I can, put you so that at least with this program on YouTube, I hope many people will watch, and not suck into only entertainment and things like that. This is serious business, and this is for the future of Malaysia. And looking at you, I have a lot of hope, because I'm sure in your team, I have met your team, and I have seen the same kind of dedication with your team. Maybe, one of these days we will pursue. My ambition is to have a channel, just like, in the Western country, you have that Discovery or something, that kind of program. Maybe I will speak to some of the TV station here, to say that maybe even Astro, to have this channel and to focus on all the research that Malaysians are involved in. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, that's really a good idea, at least to inspire people. And like I said, it doesn't really take, it's not always rocket science, to solve problems. It could just be simple solutions. And actually, the more simple it is, the more sustainable it will be.
Yes. Okay. I feel so excited. I feel so happy that you are part of the Malaysian Women Graduate Association, and I'm so proud of you, my dear. Right from the first time I set my eyes on you, that was in 1998, and you have really lived up to that Siswi Cemerlang title that we award you in 1998. And I wish you all the best. And I hope, one day you will continue again to actually inspire the young generation and, with strings of international awards. Okay.
Thank you, Datin Fauzia. Thank you very much. Also, thank you to the Persatuan for the trust, and the support.
Okay. That is all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to challenge those of you who are among the younger generation. This should be your icon. She should be, Profesor Sok Ching, should be the one that you look up to and emulate, because we need intelligent Malaysians. We need less of emotionally triggered, Malaysian, We need to have a sober, educated, straight thinking, critical in a positive way. These are the type of young leaders that Malaysia need to move forward, to really become a modern nation, as was set out when I was working in the government, one of the pillars of Vision 2020. Thank you so much, Professor Sok Ching, my dear, and I wish you all the best and continue with that spirit that you have shown us all these last more than 20 years. This is 2021.
Yes, more than 20 years.
Yeah, it's already 23 years that you have been with us. You have made us proud. We are so happy to still have you as one of the EXCO. And one of these days, I would like to challenge you to take over as the leader of the Malaysian Women Graduate Association. Young people like you, young people like you should also be involved in in the work within an NGO. All right.
Yes.
So thank you again, and
thank
have
you.
a pleasant weekend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.